God bless my haters. God bless fake hoes. God bless these haters. Cause God don't leave no sad. All I do is get it. 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 All I do is get it.
Oh my God. Okay, I see everybody. First of all, hi.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. It's been a minute. This is what happens when you try to be fancy with technology. Okay, it doesn't work. That's why I say we need to go back to beepers. Okay, nobody has time for this. But anyway, thank you all for joining us. Like I said, it's been a minute. I am happy to just get back into the groove of things because a lot has happened. I am joined with my handsome, sexy, foxy host, Emmanuel Anzules.
Hey everyone, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
That was traumatic for the past.
Are you having anxiety, boo?
Yeah, I was about to just say, you know what? I'm quitting. It's over.
Give up.
Find a new co-host.
Find a new co-host. No, we tried a new system. Our guest is actually here. We weren't going to bring her in until a little bit later, but we were trying to avoid this. And so now she has gotten a rude introduction to New York and our technology. Welcome to Hellboo. This is our lovely guest, I don't know how to introduce her, the Dr. Michaela Ward of DMV fame. Okay, she's not one of us, you guys.
I'm not. Thank you. Hello.
How are you? And she just got married, so if you want to give her a big congrats, we would appreciate that. Marriage is clearly happening for everybody except those that live in New York.
Oh. My husband had to leave New York to find love, so.
Wait, he's from New York?
He is from New York. He's
oh,
from
wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of like 6 degrees of separation, New Yorker. Okay.
There you go.
I did
Where are
not
you
know
guys
that.
living?
We're in Virginia.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's beautiful. They have a beautiful home, they actually have a front yard.
Yes.
On a balcony with
Yeah.
rats and whatnot. But we are continuing. I know people think that Emmanuel and I are kind of obsessed with talking about our feelings, okay, because he's a Libra and I'm a Pisces, but it's actually Mental Health Awareness Month. And we've had some pretty serious things happen on this side of the US that just transpired within like days of each other. And as I was explaining to Dr. Ward, I'm going to address you as that.
Thank you.
I've had 2 students, and I told Emmanuel as well, I had 2 students just this week who had some mental health challenges and actually attempted suicide. And I wasn't in town at the time. I was actually in Florida, and I got some information that there were some less than favorable things happening back in New York, but I didn't really get the gist of it until I got back here on Tuesday, and I was very, very upset by that. So, what do you think is happening, Emmanuel? I know you're teaching high school, but what do you think is different about this year than last year, where people are just completely giving up? They're not even seeking therapy anymore.
What I'm noticing is that a lot of students are very, very disconnected from the world in terms of being able to communicate adequately and properly seek the support that they need. I feel like since COVID, our students are so obsessed with technology and screen time.
Yeah.
And can't really socialize in a way that our students before could. So
they don't have the skills.
They don't have the skills. What I'm noticing with the high school students is a lot of self-medication. Okay. A lot of addiction to substances. We've had a lot of overdoses happening. We've had a lot of overdoses to marijuana, which is unheard of.
In school?
At school. Just a few weeks ago, it happened in one of my classes. The girl was blue, pale. Like I couldn't even recognize who she was. And it was really scary.
Wow.
So what are we doing as educators? What are we doing as schools to try to stop students from self-medicating and not really opening up about the issues that they're dealing with? It's sad, it's scary, everybody's so overwhelmed. I don't know who has the bandwidth anymore to deal with these issues.
I don't.
I certainly don't. And I also don't have the skills. Like, I'm not a counselor, neither are you.
That's what I wanted Michaela to kind of chime in on, because usually the issues of which he's speaking and I'm speaking, you usually hear about that on college campuses, maybe high school, but definitely not middle school. My students are 8th graders. And same with him, they're vaping. They're getting caught vaping in the bathrooms.
Yep.
Weed, that goes without saying. Everybody's smoking weed. Everybody. Like, weed is just like taking Excedrin at this point. The weed is like whatever, but vaping, weed, and of late, alcohol. We had one young lady. I can only say so much without compromising people's privacy, but one young lady came to school the other day, drunk. She had vodka and water. And the teachers are like, excuse me, you get a sip? Like, you just gonna come in here with vodka and you ain't gonna offer the teacher? No, I'm joking, but you're 13, ma'am. So, Kayla, what is going on? Please explain what you are seeing on your end and why is this happening at such a young age now?
Yeah, so I'm an adjunct instructor and I teach 1st and 2nd year college kids, and I'm seeing the same thing at the college level. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. So I think in the age of COVID, and what COVID did was COVID said, hey, let's give you a traumatic event with a big T, and let's give you no solutions to solve it, because your parents are going through it too, and they have no solutions either. And so I don't know, I just think that we're in like a weird time where across the board, like you said, who has the bandwidth, because we're barely making it ourselves as the educators to take care of our own mental health. So who's there for our students? Like, there's nobody telling them that they have any other solutions. They are literally taught by media and what they see, like you said, Emmanuel, on their phones and on social media. Oh, take a hit of this vape, or, smoke this blunt, eat this edible, and you'll temporarily get some solution, in quotation, solution, right, to your pain. But there's no one really teaching real action, real application to go past that and to really be well individuals.
To be well. And that's what I think the confusion is what does it mean to actually be well and to be happy? A lot of people don't know what that is. And with these babies, I think one of the reasons why they're being affected so hard is they never got a chance to really put their feelers out. They got hit with COVID, pandemic, then they went quarantine. That's right around that developmental stage where you do start learning what you like, what you don't like, what makes you. And they never got that opportunity. They just went from 0 to 100, and it's like, okay, now you're about to go to 9th grade. So I guess I do kind of understand why they're getting the dirtier end of the stick. But I think a lot of adults don't know either what it means to actually be happy, because we're living on these stupid phones. And it's a false reality. So in your opinion, what do you think is, with the students that we teach, middle, high, and college, what do you think is the biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? Do you think social media has more of a negative influence on them, or is it just lack of familial, affirmament? What is it that has the biggest negative effect on these kids? Because they don't have families either. I left that part out.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to say it's all of it, but that's just me. I'm going to say it's all of it. I'm going to say all of it and some, all of it plus, everything else, ... Because, they don't have the family structure to support them. And they don't necessarily have the education, right? Like, they literally walk around with computers in their pocket, but they don't have direct access somehow to the information to help them get better. So I think it's all and plus umbrella everything.
It's everything all at once.
It is the perfect.
The movie that won the Oscar, Emmanuel, what's it called? Everything All at Once or something? Everything.
Yeah, everything everywhere all at once.
That's not what it is.
That's exactly what that movie is about, right? It's about all these dimensions that every person deals with on a daily basis, and how our dimensions don't match with each other, so we can't communicate effectively.
I don't know what else to do.
Reality.
I'm tired. It's reality, but I'm exhausted, and I know you are. We have our private conversations, Michaela, about how we're like done and we're resigning, and
We've been done, Shirley, for years. And here we are, 6 years later.
No, but I
still
mean,
trying to figure it out.
I mean, it's hard. Yeah, I mean, it's to the point where I told my principal. So he's like, when I don't see, like, whenever I'm absent for more than 1 or 2 days, he just assumes that I've resigned because he knows that I'm done. For real, this time, as the kids say.
Yeah. And that's really insane to me, because the frontline workers with these students, right, can't handle it either. So how are we expected to provide any type of additional support to students, or even identify what it is that they need, if we can't even handle what we're doing as our basic job function? It's bizarre. And then what I don't see is any collective effort on behalf of the school system to try to mitigate some of these issues either. We have one drug substance abuse counselor, one. Ask me if I've met her this entire year that she's been there.
You have one in that whole school?
We have one for 1,500 students.
Wow.
And I have never seen her a day in my life. I have never heard of a student being referred to her. I don't know what services she puts on. I have no clue.
In-house?
In-house.
Wow.
5 days a week, 8 hours a day.
And you couldn't point
No
her out.
idea who she is. I could have walked past her and I have no idea, And I work with 11th graders, and I would say that more than half of my students are high each and every day. What is the protocol?
Yeah.
We can't punish them for that. So what do we do?
Not only that, what are the signs? Because a lot of the kids are not high and they're still walking around like zombies just from the trauma of life. I have one kid, and then Kayla, I'm gonna let you chime in because she actually has the recent research. Okay, you and I are.
Dr. Ward.
Dr. Ward is gonna give us the tea. But let me give you an example of what my 8th graders are dealing with in the Bronx. I have a kid. I'm gonna try to not put his business in the street too much. He's one of my favorites because he has like a Disney personality. Like, he's always got the one-liners. He's very handsome. But he used to walk around with this big grocery bag with like the liter of soda, the big family size chips, a whole roll of like cinnamon. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing with all this junk food? And he's like, Miss Phillips, I don't have a choice. He said, there are too many people in my MFing house. He said, there's like one in the bathroom, one in the kitchen, one in the basement, one in the whatever. He said, if I don't take my food, it ain't going to be there when I go home. This is an 8th grader, 13 years old, taking his personal groceries with him. He doesn't go straight home from school. He goes and hangs out in the park across the street until the street lights come. Like, he goes home at the last possible minute because his house is like a freaking Motel 6 with relatives that can't afford to pay rent. That's trauma, Emmanuel. So, Kayla, Dr. Ward, what do we do and how?
I think it's not so much one solution, right? So the research that I've been looking into for me personally has been for my students of color that I see on campus, right? Same situation. We're looking at students who are, in my case though, supporting their whole household at 18.
Wow.
And taking care of their younger siblings and still having to show up and expected to do their work and get their assignments turned in on time, but they're working 40 hours.
Wow.
And it's like, well, how do we best support these kids? And I think first things first, I will say therapy. I think we all want to like throw therapy at it because we think it's the textbook answer because we want to turn them over to a professional. But if we're honest, therapy is not easily accessible. And a lot of people don't have the knowledge or the resources in order to find therapists that are even compatible for them. So I think it's more, I've been looking into some statistics that talk about mentorship. And really, you're saying that you as the educator, or I include myself as educator, we only have so much bandwidth to do so much, right? But at the same time, the few kids we can mentor, the few kids we can bring along, like, I think each child, we're not going to be able to solve all the problems by looking at it as like a numbers game. But what we can do is look at individuals as relationships and pour into those individual relationships and allowing that mentorship and things like that, to just be a gateway. And again, we're seeing all types of things, drug use. When you add drugs to the mix, I'm a huge proponent of like rehab and drug rehabilitation systems and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think we think that it's so far-fetched, but even the small things that we do, as educators, as mentors, as friends to individuals, it's just the small things. Hey, sweetie, are you okay today? Like, I see that, you hit the blunt a few more times, or you're stumbling a little bit more than you are usually. Like, sometimes they just need an ally, you know what I'm saying? And that can lead into something even greater. And it might seem like a slow grind. It might seem like we're not making real impact, but every little thing counts. So I will say those two things predominantly, like mentorship / therapy, just a space for them to kind of feel like they have an ally in some sense. But then I think the other part is just trying to teach them life skills on a very basic level.
Yeah.
So much can be done by teaching kids how to journal and like check in with themselves and learn the symptoms. Like Shirley had mentioned, a lot of students, especially students of color, exhibit symptoms of depression, or they exhibit those symptoms in a way that's a little bit different than maybe non-colored, in quotation marks, students, however you want to think about that. But students of color have a tendency to present themselves or show up as though they are okay because they've been taught their entire lives. You smile. We ain't got no food in the fridge, but you smile. You know what I mean? Like, we're going through all this trauma in the background, but the business of our house stays in this house, and you don't share it, and different things like that. While still respecting cultural boundaries, you can teach kids, like I said, about things like journaling, really checking in with their bodies. Like, how are you speaking to yourself? And you can kind of see that in how they do their work or lack thereof. Black kids, at least from what I've seen, have a tendency to just shut down and cut out. And it seems like, oh, they just don't want to try. Like, no, they don't have the capacity to have healthy thought about themselves enough to try. How can we reframe their mental? How can we reframe the way that they speak to themselves, how they treat themselves? And I think the same goes for us too, as like the educator, because I think we see the mountain and we're like, oh, this is too much. I need a break. I can't do it. But we too have to have that healthy self-talk. Like, it just takes one. I just have to reach one, because that one can reach two. And the two that and it can be exponential. Again, it might be a slow grind, but just little things. So yeah, teaching them wellness skills. What are they putting into their bodies? I know that's on a whole nother level, and we can talk about food deserts and all the things, trust. But teaching them about how the things that they put into their body, not just substance-wise in terms of drugs and alcohol, but also in terms of the food that they eat, and how sometimes the food you eat will cause you to be more depressed.
Absolutely.
Yes. And cause you to have anxiety and you not know. And so being more attentive to what is your body telling you about your current circumstance, and how can you change just a little piece of that for you to find happiness. You might not be able to solve the fact that, for example, your student has to fight to hold on to their food. He can't change that circumstance. But what he can change is the way that he views it, the way that he sees his outlook. Maybe it's holding on to the possibility of changing his circumstance down the road, or forging a plan to ensure that he can change his circumstance down the road. But whatever it is, giving these kids even a glimmer of hope in the
Mhm.
sea of their bad, I think allows them and allows us too to kind of work towards wellness as a collective.
Thank you so much. You're absolutely correct. And just the fact that you said just a glimmer, that makes such a difference. And I think um, when they hear these things coming from males, it doesn't matter if they're white, Hispanic, black, whatever, they need to hear and see more men telling them that this is okay for you to have these feelings and have these thoughts. I think they're tired of hearing it from women, particularly black women, because I think, and I will attest to this, I think that a lot of us are guilty of toxic positivity, where it's kind of like just suck it up. I went through it. We were hungry when I was young. I made it. Just because you made it doesn't make it okay or make it right. And I know for a fact that I'm guilty of that. And that's probably one of the worst things you can do, because it invalidates what they're feeling right now in 2023. This is not 1982, Miss Phillips. This is right now, where I'm seeing everybody around me have and I don't. And home is not safe. And now school is no longer safe because I can't even talk to you about it. So I want someone to address, Emmanuel, how are you addressing the various hats that you are having to wear? I know many kids, as she said, they just want a hug. They just want a positive word. And on top of that, you're having to teach your history. I'm having to teach ELA. But I feel like at the end of the day, with all these different hats, I don't have anything else to give myself. And so I'm not getting the mental health counseling that I need or the therapy that I need, because I got to get up and do it again tomorrow. How are you handling that as a male? What are you
So I've been in education for a long time, over, I want to say 14 years. And for the past 4 years, since even before COVID started, I've been trying to work with students who are often the ones that slip through the cracks
Yeah.
in various capacities, right? Students that I see who are struggling, or students who I see are addicted to a substance. And in doing that, I notice a lot of things that perhaps other educators in my school are not privy to.
Yeah.
And I've also become more of an advocate for those students, and I've asked for help numerous times. And what I've been told, and I don't know if this is because it's better to leave something unnoticed than it is to actually try and chip away at all the issues that are present, right? But I've been told that I was hired to be a teacher in the classroom and teach content, and I wasn't hired there to do all the other extra stuff that I've been trying to do.
Wow.
So the last few months have been really hard for me, because although I do want to stay in my current position and I do want to help these students, it's also like, how much more can I do with the power that I've been given?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I try to talk to students individually. I try, like right now as we're speaking, I'm trying to think of focus groups and workshops that I can run, but I'm only one person in a sea of 200 other adults
Hmm.
amongst 1,500 students. You know, it's a lot. It's very it's draining, it's overwhelming,
Yeah.
just to think about what I cannot do. But I think that Dr. Ward is right in thinking about the one or two students that you can help in that process, you know. So I'm in my mind right now thinking about what I could do, what's within my power.
It's not a lot. And unfortunately, we're left with these tough decisions, Caleb, because I know for a fact that I am going to be better serving these or this demographic outside of the classroom. But there are so many teachers that are inept and are unable to give what teachers like Emmanuel and I give in the classroom. It's like, dang, I don't want to leave them hanging like that.
That's what I think of too.
So it's like, what do I do? But I'm literally at the fork in the road. I highly doubt, and I don't care. I said what I said. It's a who gonna check me boo type situation. I doubt that I will be back in the fall for a couple of reasons. One, it's just when things no longer make sense, I can no longer agree to do things when they just don't make sense anymore. And I see that the Department of Education is doing way more harm to these babies than they are good. Many of the kids come, what I noticed too, a lot of the snacks and the breakfast and lunch packets, those disappear. When you talk about a food desert, honey, they come for the food. They're stashing them for their little brother, their mom, their grandma, whoever, and education is secondary. Probably not even secondary in some cases. I'm just here because the city says I have to be. Watching that and then seeing like the handful of kids that are there to learn, it's like, this does not make sense. I'm not a homeless shelter. I'm not a mission. I'm not a food bank. But what do we do? So, Emmanuel, I would like to say thank you so much just for being there in that classroom, because they need to see you, and the amount of
I know.
they need you.
I know they do. And you mentioned something really important, Shirley. Like, I know for a fact my school is very corporate. Just for the fact that it's a charter, like a national charter school.
Yeah.
I know that my position will be given to someone who is not a part of the BIPOC community, like who's not BIPOC, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that scares me because I'm like, damn, I also don't want to leave my kids high and dry next year. I don't want to leave the younger students with people who don't really have their best interests at heart.
Yeah.
Right. Not to say that that will be the case, but 90% of the time that is the case. So as much as I want to be selfish and do things for myself, I also feel a huge responsibility to help my students, and I'm not a savior, like I'm not trying to save them, but I just know that they need us right now, especially right now.
Especially right now.
They needed us before, but they need us more than anything right now, And then I also think about like, what is New York State? What is the national government doing to try to get rid of some of these issues, right? Are we prioritizing the wrong thing right now, especially in communities of color and underdeveloped communities? Are we prioritizing education when we should be prioritizing survival?
Yeah. That's deep. Wow. I don't know.
It's so difficult. Dr. Word, help us.
Yeah, I don't have all the answers. Trust. I wish I did. I do not have all the answers. I will say this though. I agree that the question needs to be asked. And not only should we be prioritizing survival, but how, once we start prioritizing survival, do we get people to a place of thriving?
Yeah.
Because you can't, I think the baseline was survival for so long.
Yeah.
That we never got to a place where we could take a hit as people, as a society.
Yeah.
So I agree. Yeah. No.
I will say this though. We still need truck drivers. We still need plumbers, electricians, carpenter. The trades somewhere along the way became like a 4-letter word, and nobody wants to talk about that. A lot of the kids are bored, and it's like, I don't like reading, I don't like writing, I don't like math. Is there anything else I can do? And that's why I honestly believe, just from conversations I've had with my babies, they don't see the point of being alive anymore. So you telling me if I make it out of college, or if I make it out of high school, I got to do 4 to 10 more years of this? And they're like, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to end it now. And I would like to work on that. I would like to work on bringing the joy back into school and looking forward to going to school. Glee club, drama club. If I didn't have my music teacher, I don't know how I would have got through middle school, because it was boring. I did well, but it was very boring and it was a lot of pressure. So maybe that's something we can try to tackle, Emmanuel. Maybe this summer we can try to come up with something for high school and the incoming 8th graders. I don't know. I really don't know. But in terms of coping and thriving,
Yes.
while we're here, we started out talking about how physical activity and finding that safe space, that me time, how that could help a child that could be in crisis or could be, having a mental health crisis. Can you talk a little bit about that or some of the things that you can just do, Michaela, at home to try to decompress when you're having days like that?
Yes, of course. So I'm really big on telling people go do your research. I'm going to give a couple things and then I'm going to say go do more research because these things are all buckets that can kind of expand into a world of their own, but definitely grounding activities. So there are different levels of grounding activities. You can, I think on TikTok, the big thing that I've seen amongst my students is they take cold showers or they do ice baths.
Oh, wow.
Which sounds really not okay to me. It doesn't work for me, but it definitely does like calm your nervous system. There's science behind it. So
Okay.
different grounding activities similar to that, dunking your face in ice water, breathing exercises. So inhale for a count of 3, exhale for a count of 3, centering yourself. I'm a huge proponent for drowning out the noise in order for you to hear your thoughts back. And so gray music, oceans, waves, those types of things, when you play them in your headphones or you play them over a loudspeaker, they kind of have a way of allowing you to just get back with your thoughts and to allow you a space of meditation within yourself. A lot of times, what I see, I guess, with myself as well is I get overwhelmed and I get super anxious. And so to bring myself down, you can literally ground yourself. I kind of akin this to like taking your shoes off and feeling your toes in the grass type situation.
Yeah.
Anything that will help slow you down to just get you at a place with yourself. Even if it's not a good place with yourself, just to be able to hear yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you got to scream it out, if you got to put the pillow over your face and just like yell, so be it. Ground yourself, get yourself back to a place where you can at least hear yourself. So that's one bucket. The other bucket, like you mentioned, is physical activity. I am a huge proponent for showing up for yourself every single day in some capacity, at least 30 minutes of elevating your heart rate. That could be dancing, that could be like going to the gym, that could be running in the park, that could be walking quickly. It does not matter. Get your heart rate up, get your body active, get your body moving. Just sweating just that little bit allows you another opportunity to release stress in a way that's maybe secondary to what you think. The third bucket, I would say, is again those activities like journaling, speaking with a therapist, talking to a friend. I was on social media earlier today and I saw someone mention like talking to yourself. It makes you seem crazy. But if you do it, within the confines of your home and things like that, it gives you an opportunity to hear back your thoughts, hear back. And sometimes you need to be able to, put a wall there. Like there's a difference between what I'm feeling and who I am. But you don't know that until you get it out, get it off of you. So in some capacity, do that. And then again, the last bucket is just like activity in terms of arts, music, drawing, singing, just finding a community where you can do like-minded things with other individuals that don't necessarily take the shape of your trauma or whatever it is that you're working through on an internal level. So doing things externally that might not mirror your internal, but it does give yourself an opportunity to kind of push past what you're feeling. And last thing, having that community gives you the accountability to show up to do those, even if you don't want to do them.
That's right. That's everything that you said. I'm just making a mental check and I'm writing it down as well. New York does not have a lot of that. They don't have safe spaces. They don't have spaces, quiet time. Everything is loud, rush, 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 rush. Arts are non-existent in most schools, with the exception of maybe an after-school program if the school is lucky. And unfortunately, a lot of the kids can't attend the after school because they have to take care of their little brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
I run an after school program, and a lot of girls can't come because they're like, I can't. I gotta get on the train and go pick up my brother from kindergarten. I can't. It's sad, and everything that we know to do, Emmanuel, they don't have access to do. So starting tomorrow, I'm gonna try this. Just giving them time in every class, even if it's like the first 5 minutes of class, just have them journal, do some gratitude journaling, start from very small to however grandiose you want. And that, I heard too, has helped combat some of the negative feelings when you're just thankful for the little that you do have. The fact that you can see, that you can speak, that you can write. In the DMV area, are you guys seeing the rate of suicide that we're seeing here, especially amongst our LGBTQ teens?
So I don't know about teens. I know amongst like young adults, it's high, but it's not. I'm sure it's not even remotely as high as it is to New York. I don't know. New York, y'all are a different beast. Y'all are cut different. I'm gonna be honest.
Tell you.
In a good way, but in like a sad way too. So I personally haven't been seeing as much, but I think there's also more conversation here in Virginia, out in the open, about LGBTQ issues that allow kids to kind of, externalize some of what they're feeling internally.
Okay.
At least, especially at the university where I am, I see a whole lot of inclusion. They've really pushed inclusion. Almost to like the brink of it's uncomfortable to be as inclusive as they are, but for the benefit of the students, so that students don't have to feel like it's a thing. We're also dealing with adults though. So I think it's also a different beast when we're talking about the LGBTQ community and adolescence versus young adulthood. By the time you get into young adulthood, it's kind of implied that you start questioning your sexuality a little bit. And so there's a lot more freedom there. Whereas I definitely feel like K through 12, they don't have opportunity to just kind of say, I don't know, and I don't want to figure it out right now.
They don't. It becomes almost a fad.
Yes.
To be confused or to be, I don't know. But I read that according to the Trevor Project, which does amazing work with preventing LGBTQ people, I'm not even going to say teens, people from committing suicide or wanting to commit suicide. They said 81% of LGBTQ individuals wanted to commit suicide last year. 56 did not receive any counseling whatsoever, but it was definitely 81% that wanted to, and 56% did not receive any type of counseling at all. That's a little scary to me. But I don't have the numbers on how many actually attempted, but 81% wanted to. So I don't know. Just from what I've seen in the past couple of months, I'm very concerned for next year because it's only going to get worse. I can barely afford to buy groceries at this point. I'm a single woman, no kids, no nothing. Every time I go to the grocery store, I'm spending between $150 and $200. It's going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to feed Cherry, Emmanuel, your dog? What's going on?
She's going to have to become a vegetarian.
That's important.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And she eats very expensive dog food.
It's expensive.
It's like $10 a pack.
What?
You get 2-3 meals out of them.
For $10?
For a dog, yeah. I mean, she's my child. She's my only child. So I can splurge a little, but it's tight. Like, I don't know. You mentioned it before, Shirley. Like, a lot of our students are really coming to school just for food and air conditioning.
Yeah, and before, remember when they used to like shun the food, like they were like, "That's for poor people. We don't want that." They wouldn't.
Wow. Oh my God.
Michaela, they wouldn't eat it. The peanut butter and jelly, none of it. They'd just be like, if it wasn't a certain thing, they wouldn't even entertain it. Now they're just like, can I get those extras? Can
Yep.
I get you seeing that too in high school?
Yeah, a lot of them, they all they want to do is get a snack. And I don't know if it's because they have the munchies. Maybe they have the munchies
From smoking the weed.
from the weed they're smoking, right? But they are constantly snacking.
I didn't even think about that. I don't think it's
Constantly.
I don't think it's that because I see the kids that I know are not into that. They're also
Constantly. They're hungry. I don't know, like, where it's coming from. Like, it's crazier than it's ever been.
I do know they took a huge cut with the EBT cards because remember they were getting the emergency funds on the card, so that's been cut out. So a lot of families are really feeling that now because for a while they were balling at the grocery store, like they had like 3 carts, crab, shrimp, salmon, and I'm with my little bag of oatmeal, and they were balling for a minute.
Oatmeal and noodles.
Oatmeal and ramen.
I think we need to think more so about, like, how do we respond to this particular issue in this moment. We can't apply the same old formula to something that is brand new
You
and
cannot.
bringing us a different set of variables to work with.
Is it brand new though, or is it just now the spotlight is on it now? Because I told you when I was in 8th grade, one of my friend, well, he wasn't a friend per se, but he had been with us since kindergarten. He committed suicide in 8th grade, and we just kind of took him for like a fixture. He was like one of those Dungeons and Dragons kids, we didn't dislike him. We just knew he would always be there. And then this one day, it was a Friday. I'll never forget it. We were in computer class and we were studying for a quiz that we had. And he had a notebook and he was going around asking everybody, if I died, would you be sad? And we were mean. And we told him, like, no, like, go kill yourself. We wouldn't be sad. Like, you're annoying. Leave us alone. We're trying to study. We were so mean to him. But we took him for granted because he would do that all the time. He would ask weird questions. Like, if you had to eat a peanut butter and bacon sandwich, or, he would just ask stupid stuff. And so we didn't think anything of it, And sure enough, he blew his head off that weekend. It was Halloween, blew his head off. Monday, we were informed. And come to find out, he had a myriad of other things going on. His sister had just went away to college. That was his best friend. She went away to Michigan State, I believe it was. His mom was in a relationship with a new guy that he did not like. So he had other things besides us. And so the fact that his classmates were that mean and insensitive to him, that was kind of it for him. You know what I mean? So I still deal with that. I'm 47 and I'm still like, maybe had we been a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
You can't look at it that way. You have to look at it.
You know what's crazy about all that, Shirley, that even after like the 30 plus years that you've had to like internalize a lot of that, right? You're still thinking about what you could have done better. We're constantly as educators thinking about what we could do better, what we could do tomorrow, what we could do the next day, right? But I don't see this same urgency from people who hold higher positions than us.
They don't care.
Are they just passing it on to us as if we're gonna solve all these problems and just take the entire like brunt of it? I don't understand how we could just let things continue the way that they are without emergency action, because this seems to me like it's a state of emergency right now.
The admin has shut down because I know they're dealing with their own battles as well. But it was told to us. We took it to one of our principals. Like, we're exhausted. We're having our own trauma. We need therapy. And they said, well, you know what? You shouldn't have signed up to teach. Like, that's part that comes with the territory. So it's like,
I had a leader say that to me about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the same person that was pushing for giving yourselves grace, giving each other grace. We're going through a pandemic. Be nice to each other. And then the moment that you actually show that you need a moment to breathe, you get hit back with, well, this is what comes with the territory of being a teacher.
Wow. Even in I was hoping that you would tell me it was better in high school.
Oh no.
Wow.
I will be. I'm gonna tell you guys a story, and hopefully that the person that put me through this is not listening to this or watch it later. I mean, and even if she does, I don't care. I have a leader, my direct manager, who a few days ago I had to miss a meeting because my AP students had a test by the college board 2 days later, and I had 22 kids in my room after school. During that time, we had a staff meeting. And I've never missed a meeting before in the 8 years that I've been there. And I text her and I was like, listen, like, I'm not going to be able to make it because I have 22 kids who are tutoring. They want to do well on this test, right? She hit me back up with like, although I understand the importance of tutoring, the expectation is that you are at this meeting.
Wow. Did anything
Okay, cool.
extraordinary happen at the meeting?
And so I went to the meeting with her like one-on-one a few days after, and I was like, listen, I don't understand if what you guys shared at the meeting was life or death. Like was it that serious that I couldn't be there, one person out of 200, or was it just that you guys needed me to be there? Otherwise, it would become a slippery slope where other people would begin to like.
Bro.
She couldn't give me an answer. She couldn't give me an answer at all. And I think a lot of it is like we're applying these old school formulas and old school practices and very factory level kind of like what they used to do back in the day. You have to clock in and out. You know, we have to know where you are at all times. Like we have to watch you. We have to make sure that we are controlling your movements all day, every day, and every single time that you're here. And that loses the humanity of the work that we do. Like I'm working with people. Yeah. I'm not just sitting somewhere just chilling, not wanting to go to a meeting, you know? Yep. So I think humanity and the human side of a lot of this in the classroom is a thing of the past. Yeah, it's really, really, really sad.
Wow.
Dr. Ward, I don't know if it's the same on the college level.
So that's not my experience, but I'm also an adjunct, right?
Yeah.
So I have a full-time job and then I just teach on the side. It's my part-time job. And thankfully, I was able to find a really supportive department to back us. So at any given point, if I'm like, I cannot, like, I'm immediately supported. My concerns are immediately heard. So one of the things that led to me even doing the research that I presented earlier about students of color is I had all of my Black students drop my class this semester. Like they didn't even make it to the halfway point. They just couldn't. Wow. And I cried.
Wow.
I couldn't take it. So I go to my department and I'm literally in the office like, look, what are we going to do? Because I refuse to allow this to become the trend. And rather than being met with all of the excuses as for why or all of the red tape, she's like, no, go around the tape and the protocols and let's start asking questions of people who can give us real solutions and real answers. And if it's not here at this university, well, then we'll go find some funds somewhere to send you somewhere else to go get what you need. But I also think we're talking about an institution, so not public education. We're talking kids pay. But I also think there's a certain level of like, I'm a young spring chicken in this thing. I've only been teaching for a year and a half. And so I still have the faith to push people and push the boundaries a little bit, right? So had I been met with some adversity, cool, so I'm gonna go past you. And if I'm still met with adversity, I'm just the type of person, my parents are both military. We can go to Fox News with this thing if you want to, but at the end of the day, we're gonna convene and we're gonna talk about some solutions and then we're gonna try to implement them until we can get to a place of creating real change. But that's, again, the young spring chicken in me who hasn't really, I'm not a veteran at this. And you guys are, exactly. I can say within my department though, that the people who have been there 10 plus years, they're saying some of the same things you're saying. Yeah. They're saying, why? Why is it taking so long for us to make change? What is the problem? Why are there no real solutions? They're starting to, not even starting, they've been asking the pressing questions, and they feel like every time it's a money game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for that, I don't know. I think we have to get creative with our ways. I'm just a little bit different in terms of, like I said, my parents are prior military. And so everything I've ever done in my life has been against the grain. It has been contrary. So your supervisors don't want to support you in supporting your students. Cool. So what's going to happen is I'm going to go and I'm going to start finding some outside sources. And I don't know how hard that is. For you guys to find outside sources, whether
Yeah.
that be community partners, activists, because one of us can't do it, but 10 of us may be able to move the pendulum just a little bit.
And there's resources there. It's just finding the people that are versed enough and that still have the energy to do that. And a lot of the people, they just don't have the energy anymore. They care, but you also got to think about people that are going home to their own families, their own children, husbands, wives, and it's just a lot. But before we do run out of, thank you so much for that. But before we do run out of time, I wanted you to tell us about the podcast that you started, where people can go and listen to some conversations about the self-care and, you know, what you basically just told us on their own time.
Yes, of course. So my podcast is called the Candid Car Conversations Podcast. It's Candid with a K, Conversations with a K. On this podcast, it was kind of birthed. I have been sharing my story via blogging and things of that nature for about 5 years. I just couldn't, with my current lifestyle, handle that. And so I was like, a podcast is the easiest way to get long form information to people and really help spark the dialogue. It's called Candid Conversations for a reason. We talk about all things wellness from the most uncomfortable places. And so digging deep from things as simple to how can we find time in our busy lives to show up for ourselves by exercising or whatever have you, to more deep conversations on how we're going to spiritually ground ourselves, or at least explore our spirituality in order for us to have hope to pour into other people's cups. And so you can find that on all the podcast platforms. And yeah, take a listen. And I'm really big on making sure that we continue these conversations off air, because the things we say on air are the things we have time for in that moment. But the real change happens when we put feet to faith. So
that's right. Yeah, she has a story, y'all, and I'm not gonna ruin it. It's like a movie trailer, but she has a story. She went through a lot over the past couple of years, and she came out, like, to me, better than she was before. And I know, I mean, you were always dope, but just she my cousin, y'all, so I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm just gonna tell you.
Yes.
But
plot twist.
Yeah.
But she went through some stuff, and I would see bits and pieces, but I saw what she was doing, the working out and just staying positive and grounded and kind of talking to yourself, only talking to yourself through the camera.
Yeah.
And I think that you came out better for having experienced that. She didn't have it as hard as we did, Emmanuel. Emmanuel's from Peru.
Oh, wow.
Right.
The rats are bigger than the cats in Peru. I'm from Detroit, so Emmanuel and I have similar stories in terms of struggle. She didn't have that experience, but just having what she went through without me giving it away at such a critical part of her development, you know, I think probably puts her on the equal plane with us in terms of experience and what we have to share. And she mentioned also spirituality. Kids don't have that either, Emmanuel.
No.
They don't know what they believe. That's a big part of it. Because what's governing your decisions?
Right.
You know what I mean? Who are you looking to when you are in crisis? If you don't have parents, you don't believe in a God, you don't know what you believe in. To me, that makes it even worse, because you're like an open vessel for any type of negative energy or spirit or anything that wants to take over your body, because there's nothing there, you know, to shield you. So, did you have any questions for us? Is there anything that we can help you with in terms of your journey and the trajectory that you're on right now, because I see great things for you.
Thank you. Yeah, like just I'm going to say not so much questions, but I want to big you guys up for opening the door for these kinds of conversations and really allowing people like me. I look up to you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you guys have been educators since I was a tyke, like not in a rude way, but in terms of like I was a bad kid out here doing things myself, and you guys are out here educating my peers. And
Yeah.
so to learn from those who have stood the test of time in terms of not just education, but being a vessel. Yeah. So thank you guys for being that vessel, not just having the conversations, but being the vessel for your students and the example for people like me who do aspire to have longevity in education.
I appreciate it, and you're more than welcome. And again, like I said, I love Emmanuel because Emmanuel does a lot too outside of the classroom. He's sick of me because I'm always like his PR person wherever I go, trying to get his sizzle reel so he can do other things. But because he's so needed, and he can reach even the middle schoolers that I teach, he can reach them in a way that I cannot. And so sometimes, they'll say, how come we can't watch the show? And, tell us about your co-host. So I'll give them tidbits about him. He was also Mr. I hope I said, is it Mr. United States or Mr.
Wow.
He was in a whole pageant and won.
Yes, that's amazing.
They're like, boy, how did he win? So little conversations like that, they don't understand that there's no limit to what you can do. You know what I mean? So we need him, and thank you so much, Foxy.
Thank you both.
But it is 56 minutes after, and I wanted. Charles is messaging me about something. I can't multitask, sir. Why?
Yeah, we got like 2 minutes.
Text messages.
You got a time check.
Yeah, time check. Hold on. I wanted to give, before I forget, 4 minutes. On your cell phone, it doesn't matter if you have an Android, okay, which I don't know why people still have Androids, but if you do or don't, you can dial 988 on your phone. That is the mental health hotline. It is completely confidential. It is 24 hours. I think a lot of people think that if they dial these numbers that they're going to automatically send services to your house. That is not true. If you just need an ear, if you're thinking about harming yourself or harming someone else, you can call those numbers and explain to them what is happening, and you will get an actual licensed person that can speak with you and talk you through these crises. So 988. The Trevor Project, if you or someone you know are in the LGBTQ community and you are a youth or adolescent, I don't know if there's a age cap on such, but it's just the trevorproject.org. That is THE, of course, TREVOR project.org. If you prefer to speak to someone on the phone, you can call them instead, and that is 866-488-7386. 866-488-7386. And again, Trevor Project specializes in the LGBTQ community because they are in an unspoken crisis right now. Nobody's talking about it. And that's what makes it worse to me, because I feel like they're getting it from two different angles. And so that's why I think a lot of people are just opting to go the suicide route, but we do not want that. So any last words that either of you have? I know I'm a little long-winded, but sorry.
I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity. Thanks so much.
Thank you for taking time with us. We appreciate you. And I don't think we have commercial. Emmanuel, we have Janet Jackson Tuesday, beloved.
I know, I'm so excited.
We are going to see Michael Jackson's sister, y'all.
Why don't she bring us on stage?
Right? We should.
I feel like I will fall dead right there.
I might just pass out, right? Oh my God. Michaela, I don't know if this is before your time, ma'am.
It is.
It's not okay.
It is not. I'm jealous. She came to the DMV area yesterday, and I
Yeah,
could
she's making
not.
her rounds.
I
Yeah.
couldn't get tickets, and I wanted to so bad. So I'm really jealous. Y'all enjoy for me, please.
I would
We
say
got ours in like November.
I had to. It was like Beyonce or Janet. I had to make a decision. I listen. Groceries are $200 a week, y'all. I couldn't do both, so I chose Cherry gotta have dog food. Listen, we couldn't do both, y'all.
Yep.
You
Love
chose
it.
Janet, okay? But I would definitely send you lots of annoying videos. And if I can get a shiny suit, maybe we can meet her if you stand up.
Yes.
All right, I think we're done here. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Ward.
Yes, of course. Thank you, guys.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
God bless my haters. God bless fake hoes. God bless these haters. Cause God only knows that. All I do is get it. All I do is get it. All I do is